In 1924, Azerbaijan was at a crossroads. It had been part of the Russian Empire, but that empire had fallen apart. The Soviet Union was forming, and Azerbaijan became one of its republics. This new era brought significant changes. Azerbaijan was rich in oil, even back then. This made it important to the Soviet Union. The Soviets wanted to control and use this valuable resource. But this also meant that Azerbaijan's fate was tied to the Soviet Union's. Life in 1924 was very different from today. Most people lived in villages and worked on farms. Life was traditional with strong family ties and religious beliefs, but the Soviet system aimed to change this. The Soviets wanted to modernize Azerbaijan and bring it in line with communist ideology. This meant collectivized farms, state-controlled industry, and a focus on atheism over religion. These changes would have a profound impact on Azerbaijani society in the decades to come. The Soviet period was a time of immense change for Azerbaijan. The Soviet system brought both progress and hardship. On the one hand, there were advances in education, healthcare, and industrial development. Literacy rates improved and more people had access to basic services. The oil industry under Soviet control expanded significantly, making Azerbaijan a crucial part of the Soviet economy. However, these advancements came at a cost. The Soviet government was authoritarian and often repressive. It suppressed Azerbaijani culture and language, promoting Russian instead. Religious practices were discouraged and dissent was met with harsh consequences. Despite these challenges, Azerbaijanis found ways to preserve their cultural identity. They kept their traditions alive within their homes and communities, passing them down through generations. The desire for freedom and self-determination never truly faded. By the late 1980s, the Soviet Union was weakening. People across the USSR, including in Azerbaijan, were demanding greater freedom and autonomy. The government, under Mikhail Gorbachev, introduced reforms like perestroika and glasnost, but these were not enough to quell the growing desire for change. In Azerbaijan, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict further fueled the independence movement. The dispute over this region, with its Armenian majority but situated within Azerbaijan, escalated into violence. This conflict and Moscow's handling of it angered many Azerbaijanis who felt betrayed by the Soviet leadership. On August 30th, 1991, Azerbaijan declared its independence from the crumbling Soviet Union. This declaration marked the end of over 70 years of Soviet rule and the beginning of a new chapter in Azerbaijani history. The country faced enormous challenges, including the ongoing conflict with Armenia, economic uncertainty, and the need to build new political and social structures. However, there was also a sense of hope and optimism as Azerbaijan embarked on its journey as an independent nation. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict cast a long shadow over Azerbaijan's early years of independence. This conflict, rooted in historical grievances and territorial claims, had escalated into a full-blown war in the late 1980s and early 1990s. The war resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people, both Armenians and Azerbaijanis. It also had a devastating impact on the economy and infrastructure of the region. A ceasefire agreement was reached in 1994, but the conflict remained unresolved. Tensions persisted, and sporadic outbreaks of violence continued to claim lives and undermine the possibility of a lasting peace. The Nagorno-Karabakh conflict became a defining issue for Azerbaijan, shaping its foreign policy, national identity, and domestic politics. It also had a profound impact on the lives of countless individuals and families who were directly affected by the conflict. Section 5. Azerbaijan's oil boom, a new era of prosperity. Despite the challenges posed by the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, Azerbaijan experienced significant economic growth in the 1990s and 2000s. This growth was largely driven by the country's vast oil and gas reserves. New pipelines were built to transport Azerbaijani oil and gas to international markets, attracting foreign investment and boosting the country's revenues. The government used this oil wealth to fund infrastructure projects, social programs, and military spending. The oil boom transformed Azerbaijan's economy and its cities, particularly Baku, the capital. Modern skyscrapers, luxury hotels, and shopping malls sprang up, changing the skyline and reflecting the country's newfound wealth. However, the reliance on oil and gas also raised concerns about economic diversification, environmental sustainability, and the distribution of wealth. Section 6: A changing society from tradition to modernity. Azerbaijan's economic transformation was accompanied by significant social changes. Rapid urbanization led to people moving from rural areas to cities in search of better opportunities. This shift from a predominantly rural to a more urban society brought about new lifestyles, values, and social challenges. Traditional family structures and social norms were challenged by modern influences. Access to education, healthcare, and other social services improved for many Azerbaijanis. The government invested in education and healthcare infrastructure, aiming to improve living standards and create a more skilled workforce. However, inequalities persisted and access to quality services varied across different regions and income levels. The government's crackdown on dissent and restrictions on freedom of speech and assembly also raised concerns about human rights and political freedoms. Section 7: Technology and Innovation Embracing the Future. Azerbaijan has made significant strides in technological development in recent years. The government has prioritized the development of the information and communication technology sector, investing in infrastructure and promoting digital literacy. The internet and mobile phone penetration rates have increased dramatically, connecting Azerbaijanis to the global digital landscape. The country has also made progress in developing its space industry, launching satellites and aiming to become a regional hub for space technology. The government has promoted innovation and entrepreneurship, establishing technology parks and incubators to support startups and foster a culture of innovation. However, challenges remain in terms of creating a more diversified and knowledge-based economy that is less reliant on oil and gas. Azerbaijan's embrace of technology and innovation is shaping its future, creating new opportunities for economic growth, social development, and global engagement. However, it is important to ensure that these advancements benefit all segments of society and contribute to a more sustainable and inclusive future. Section 8: Azerbaijan on the world stage, a growing presence. Since gaining independence, Azerbaijan has sought to establish itself as a key player in the South Caucasus region and on the global stage. It has pursued a foreign policy based on pragmatism, seeking to balance its interests with regional powers and global actors. Azerbaijan has joined international organizations, hosted major international events, and engaged in energy diplomacy to strengthen its ties with other countries. It has also played an active role in promoting intercultural dialogue and understanding. However, the unresolved Nagorno-Karabakh conflict continues to be a major obstacle to regional cooperation and integration. Azerbaijan's relations with Armenia remain tense, and the conflict continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of the South Caucasus. Section 9: Looking ahead, Azerbaijan in 2024 and beyond. As Azerbaijan celebrates a century since its incorporation into the Soviet Union, it stands at a crossroads. The country has made remarkable progress in terms of economic development, technological advancement, and global engagement. However, challenges remain, including the need for economic diversification, addressing social inequalities, and strengthening democratic institutions. The unresolved Nagorno-Karabakh conflict continues to cast a shadow over the region, hindering regional cooperation and reconciliation. The choices Azerbaijan makes in the coming years will be crucial in shaping its future. Embracing a path of dialogue, inclusiveness, and sustainable development will be essential for Azerbaijan to achieve its full potential and secure a brighter future for all its citizens.